What is up, everybody? Welcome to the All-NBA Show, part of the All-City Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and joining me once again, live in studio, it's the great Tim Legler. Legs, man, we were together all the way up until the game started last night, and we ended up getting a great slate of games.
We did, and we didn't think it was going to be that great going in. And it was obviously Thursday nights, a lot of times limited schedule in the league.
Yep.
So it was only 4 games. It didn't look great on paper. Some guys missing that could have been good games, normally going in, but we ended up getting some pretty exciting basketball. Very entertaining night.
Really entertaining one. We're going to talk about that Magic win over. I should really say the Lakers loss. It might have been more of a Lakers loss than a Magic win. We're going to talk about that one. We're also going to talk about a great Hornets-Pistons matchup. I know you have takes about both teams. I'm excited to hear. And we're going to give some shout-outs to guys that need it. We're going to get to it this time, Legs. Jakob Poeltl. We're not going to run out of time this time.
That's the line of the year.
Yeah,
you know what? We're going to save Jakob Poeltl for another day. I said, how many times has Jakob Poeltl heard that line?
We're getting to him today. He's only in block 3. We're also going to talk about Shaedon Sharpe, Cade Cunningham, and we're going to look ahead to tonight's matchup that you're calling between the Nuggets and Mavs, as well as a great weekend slate. But we got to start with our top game of the night, which was the Magic beating the Lakers in the clutch behind my guy, Franz Wagner. 37 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, 4 steals, did a little bit of everything. But the biggest play, in the clutch, clock winding down, not a three-point shooter. Leg struggles with that shot. Confident step back. Drained it with, 2-3 seconds left?
I'm going to stop right here. We're 3 minutes and 22 seconds into the show, and I'm already calling for a review. We're going to have to review.
Go to the tape.
Adam, listen to me. I've got very specific rules on claiming guys.
Yeah.
We say this all the time. Your guy, my guy, Okay, some examples. My guy, clearly, Scottie Pippen Jr., right? No, just saying. That's before Scottie Pippen Jr. had emerged as anything in the NBA. I claimed him. That's my guy.
That was a great pick, man.
There you go.
That was a great pick.
And give me an example.
Dyson Daniels?
That's a good one.
Man.
Now, Isaiah Hartenstein,
that's a good one.
That's a really good one. He's trying to claim Franz Wagner.
I'm telling
Franz Wagner is borderline already all-star caliber player. Yeah, but you have to have grabbed him 10 games into his rookie year or coming into the draft, coming into the league from the draft.
Check the tape.
But that's going to take a while to check that tape.
I'm going to dig up old tweets.
All right, listen.
Franz Wagner, graduate of my guys.
For the purpose of this conversation, I'll allow you to have him. We are going to revisit this.
We're going to have
We're going to have very specific rules about who gets to claim guys.
The chat will know. The chat knows. I've been on this one.
But here's the bottom line of this. This dude is balling, man. Yep. He's super talented. You started to notice it really last year with Banchero and him really hit their stride. They had an incredible year last year. Get into the playoffs, lose a 7-game series with Cleveland. And their versatility for 2 big forwards. Nobody else in the league really has 2 guys that size that play forward, that handle the ball, shoot the ball, create all their offense. So that's what really caught my eye a year ago. But I didn't know if Franz Wagner had that top gear offensively. We're finding out now with Banchero out, he absolutely does. And I think, would you say that last night may have been the cherry on the sundae for Franz Wagner so far in his career? That might have been his signature performance?
He's had, I would say maybe the gold medal if we're going outside the NBA.
No, I'm just talking about league games.
Yeah, definitely. It was a big moment. It was a big moment because that was a big win, and he made a lot of the plays in the clutch.
The shooting,
including
the game winner. Go back, and if you haven't seen it, take a look at the shot he hit to win the game. He's isolated at the top of the key, one-on-one. He kind of looks like he's starting to go because it's a 2-point game. He's starting to go, and then there's all kinds of traffic, so he just goes into backpedal mode. And by the time he lets go of the ball, and all of his weight is going backwards off the dribble, he shoots a 3 leaning back. It's a 30-foot shot from where he released it, but he's also fading away. So, the extra amount of distance you have to put on that shot to make sure it's not short, and he had nothing but the bottom of the net. And then they get the stop at the end. Lakers miss a 3 at the buzzer, and Orlando gets a road win against a red-hot Lakers team, and you're shorthanded without Banchero, and you had to dig out of a late deficit to win the game, and it was pretty much not all because of Franz Wagner, but he carried their offense in the fourth quarter in such an impressive way. To me, that's like putting a stamp on it. Like, this guy is legitimately top-tier offensive player in this league. Now, he also, by the way, had 11 assists, so he's not just scoring.
Yeah.
He's running their offense. And with Banchero out, you figure all the extra attention he's going to get didn't matter to him. Guy was unfazed by the moment.
So what I love about him is that he's good at everything. He's not necessarily great. Like, you wonder about the three-point shooting. He had a really rough year last year. But I always thought he could be a top-tier playmaker. Like, in his career, he's almost been a connector, some playmaking, but, doing this stuff. You take Banchero out of the equation. By the way, 3 weeks ago when Banchero went down, the Magic were having a great year. We said this is an opportunity for Franz Wagner now to step up. Like, he's really good. He almost does a reduced role to fit into the team. But if he goes out, I thought, there's more that he could give, and specifically with the playmaking, because 37 points, I don't know how often you're going to count on that. Even his shot at the end, the game winner, I thought it was an air ball, honestly, the trajectory of it and everything, and it kind of went in. So the scoring, I think, will be up and down a little bit. But the playmaking to me is what really, really pops for him. I think he can be a great playmaker, and it's almost like he hasn't tapped into that part of his game fully because of the nature of their team. But we're seeing it now. 11 assists last night, and that was the impressive thing. So for me, the question almost becomes, as great as Paolo Banchero is, I like this team when Franz Wagner is sort of the fulcrum of it. And Banchero's the scorer, the go-to guy.
Right.
And I don't know how you find that balance, but to me, Franz Wagner's playmaking is the thing that makes him a special player, max player. If he can do the 8, 9, 10 assists, that's where he gets the value, and I think he can.
I think he's actually got more of an ability to see the weak side of the floor and anticipate where the pass has to go than Banchero. They're both very good at it. It's, again, just alludes to their versatility. Man, oh man, when they get Banchero back, with what they went through a year ago, just getting a taste of that, and I think their team has improved. And now Wagner has gone to a place with Banchero out that I can't imagine the confidence level he's carrying himself with right now. I think you're right. I think as an initiator and as a guy that's going to get the ball to the opposite side to play 3-on-2, 2-on-1 on the weak side out of traffic, I think Wagner has a little bit more of an advantage over Banchero. I think he anticipates a little bit better. They both have great size, so they can see over the top and deliver the basketball there. But I was watching him last night, particularly with all of the extra attention, and he was dragging 2 and pulling 2 the entire game. Where his head was and his vision was, the ball was always going to the right place, and it didn't always necessarily have to be a direct assist. Sometimes the best place is to get it to the guy where the most space is, who can then you trust to go make a play. I just thought he made every right read the entire game, and just so impressed. And look, we have to also say, hey, the Lakers, they didn't just open the door. Like, they opened the screen door, they slid that little thing across so the door stays open, and then they just walked away.
They opened the door in every window in the house,
Basically,
honestly.
they did. I mean, and it was really because of their free throw shooting. Did them in, and it was late with AD and LeBron, but it was also Austin Reeves missed 2 big ones, up 3, like 2 something minutes to go.
Just crazy to miss both.
2 in a row for a guy like that. So you're talking about, 6 out of 8 free throws missed in the last 2+ minutes of the game out of their 3 best players. You're not going to overcome that. I can't imagine how irritated JJ Redick probably is today watching him, and the jaw gets going with JJ, and you could see it a couple of those timeouts he called late. He was so irritated, but he was also, I think, enamored a little bit with Franz Wagner. He's sitting there watching, and he was right in front of their bench, so he's watching Wagner do his thing, and I think JJ Redick had to be impressed by that, at the same time incredibly annoyed.
So real quick, just to circle back here, how early did I have to be a Franz Wagner guy? You said rookie year. Rookie year. What do we have, Emma? Are you able to pull it up? Do you have it ready for us? What does it say here, man? I can't even read that small. Fully aboard the Franz Wagner bandwagon. He can play.
Wait, what are we looking at right now?
We're looking at a tweet from mine from his rookie season.
How do I know where that tweet came from? What are you kidding me right now?
My guy, Legs.
Are you kidding me right now?
My guy.
Emma's over there. Emma's like a technological wizard over there pulling up. I don't know how she copy-pasted that from somewhere. I don't know. Do you think that's going to stand up in court?
Come on. It's 2022, man.
Listen a minute. There's no way Unless
count it, chat. Count it.
that's
Fully aboard the bandwagon.
Wait a second.
No
wait a
questions.
second. September 2022.
That's after his rookie year.
So
That's
it's
right.
after his rookie year.
Yeah,
right?
but before his sophomore year.
What were his numbers his rookie year?
15 points.
That's two. You can't call your guy if you average 15 points. Oh, you know what? I'll stick around after the break. We're going to talk about my guy, Victor Wembanyama. I mean, what are we doing now? My guy's going off the rails.
I think this counts. I mean,
we're going to throw this out to the chat. We're going to throw this out to the chat. There's got to be some sort of decorum about claiming guys. If you claim, for me, a rookie, right? If a guy ends up being that good right away, 15 points as a rookie, man, that's like really impressive. If he's not good right away, then you had to have claimed him draft night. But even then, he can't be like a top 10 pick.
Come on, fair? Man. I don't know that people were on the Franz Wagner bandwagon at this time. I was. I'm just saying.
Oh, my goodness. All right, listen.
I'll tell you another guy I'm on the bandwagon for, though, here. I really like Anthony Black. And it's not even like his offense is rough, and I wonder how good his offense is going to be. Yeah, I think he has tools there, right? He can handle the ball. He has a little bit of passing to him, but it's all robust, and the shot is robust. But the guy can defend, man. And I just love, we always talk about the types of players. I'm always bringing up the same type. Guys that have instincts and kind of see defensively where the play's about to go. I always just think that's good feel for the game, and he has that.
I'm going to be honest with you. You like him a lot more than I do.
Really?
Yeah, and because I have a really hard time imagining him offensively breaking through. To any extent. Yes, he's a smart player. He's got good size. He's a good defender. And he'll have an important role in this league, particularly in a good team. They've got enough offense probably on this team that he can serve a role as like picking up the crumbs offensively and guarding with his length on the wing. I think that could be a valuable asset to the team. I don't know ultimately what his upside is. And here's the thing. He was the 6th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
But you know what? I just said you can't be a top 10 pick. I'll let you have him.
You'll let me have this one.
If you want to take Anthony Black as your guy,
I'll take him.
And we're going to keep an eye on him the rest of the year. And if I end up being wrong, and it might not happen this year, but let's say, even if it's 2 years from now, I'll remember this conversation. Right. I know we never had the Franz Wagner conversation, but I'll remember if we had that conversation about Anthony Black. I just think you're a little bit more enamored with him and his upside than I am.
Do you like his defense, though?
I do like his defense.
So this team is second in defense. And a lot of it is, they have size. They rebound the ball extremely well. I think second in opponent, second chance points, second in points in the paint, fewest allowed. So it's the interior. But I feel like they have good interior defenders, but elite guys on the perimeter that keep things contained, keep guys out, and he's one of them.
He also is a pretty good ball mover. Like, I think he gets the ball to the right place. But his shooting splits are 41, 29, and 71.
Yeah, and it feels that way.
And look, he doesn't get a lot of shots. It's hard when you take 7 shots a night. I get it. That's hard. Like, a pure shooter is going to probably shoot 45% if you get 7 shots a night. That's not a lot of shots. I understand he's not a pure shooter, but I just don't know if he's enough of a threat offensively, ultimately, to where he's going to get a lot of attention and a lot of love on this team. I think I'm going to go through a number of guys on this roster before I would necessarily get to Anthony Black.
Well, Jalen Suggs, I have to imagine, is one of those guys that you would go to. And last night, 23, 5, 5, 2, 2. He always does that, by the way. I love players that fill up every stat, and he does every night. He's got something in every category.
I love guys that take, listen, you take your scoring average up 3 points a game when you're on a team where Wagner and Banchero are continuing to grow and dominate the ball in their usage, and now you're that point guard, but you're not a traditional point guard in any sense, and you're also not like a 25-point scoring point guard that's off the ball a lot. You know what I mean? So he's in that weird role where he's the point guard. He certainly is defensively as the point of attack defender, and one of the best this league has. I don't know that anybody works harder to fight over screens on the perimeter off live ball handling than Jalen Suggs. It's really impressive to just watch a breakdown of him do that and his commitment to that end of the floor. And look, 16 points a game is great if you're the third guy playing off Banchero and Wagner. I love Suggs because at no point you're ever going to watch Jalen Suggs and wonder if he's like fully mentally locked into the game.
Always.
He's always into the moment, the maximum amount of effort, and his shooting, he's 31% three-point shooter. He was 39 last year. So that tells me that's going to trickle up. Some guys get out of the gate a little bit slower. He's not shooting the three particularly well, or really from the field. Those numbers are going to go up, but he's averaging 16. He's giving you great defense every night, and he's on a good team. He's an impactful player.
There was a question in there, because he is, I think, probably their third player. They got the two bigs.
Yeah.
And then he's the third guy, I would say, although there's a lot of good players there. But is he good enough? Like offensively, the question I saw in the chat was offensively, I worry about him as your third scoring option. But I kind of like his offense. It is robust. It is a little ugly at times. But to your point, when you're a third guy, sometimes you have to get points the ugly way, and I feel like he's good at that.
Yeah, and look, last night's an example. This isn't a great ratio for Jalen Suggs. 18 field goal attempts, 13 were threes. You know, again, Jalen Suggs not a pure shooter. Jalen Suggs, I think, he's shooting 30%. He's better than that. He'll probably be upper 30s, right around 37, 38% when it's all said and done. You'd love to see that number get into the low 40s. Now you're really a threat playing off two really, really phenomenal offensive players. I think he can get there. I think his stroke is good enough. It tells me he can get there. I don't like that ratio, 13 out of his 18 shots being threes, but if that's what's available on a given night, and Lakers, they got some size in there up front, it's harder to get to the rim and AD's on the court, so that's part of why you probably end up getting more three-point shots on a given night.
Yeah.
Magic are just fun, man. And
they really are.
They're just a fun team to watch. They're really well coached, and I can't wait to see them whenever they get back to full strength this season, coming off what they did a year ago and now watching the growth of this young team. They're, to me, one of the real storylines in the second half of the season to watch.
I think as a fan, the number one spot to be in is when your team wins a title for the first time. 2023 Denver Nuggets, 2024 Celtics. You're ascending, and it's finally the year. That's the most fun spot in sports. The second most fun spot in sports to me is where Orlando is right now, where they're breaking through. They're a young team, and it's finally coming together, and you see the potential. You don't necessarily think they're going to win it this year, but all the pieces are starting to come together, and that's how I feel about them, man. There's just so many guys that I like. The only other guy I have for you, maybe you have other guys you want to talk about, but the only other one is Goga Bitadze. He's been really impressive to me this year. The numbers aren't crazy. He's up like 2 points a game. His rebounds are up. Last night he had 15. But he's a guy, they gave him that contract over the summer, and he kind of thought, that's interesting. It's kind of good amount of money. Is that a tradable contract? He's been very serviceable, especially in Wendell Carter's absence. He's played big minutes, but I feel like he's one of those guys that you don't, if you have to plug him in to replace a role, he can do it. He'll do it at a good job. He's like a great player at a lot of different things. What have you seen from him this year, and are you as impressed as I am?
Very. And maybe none more so than what I saw last night.
Yep.
I mean, that's
a tough matchup for him.
That's a very difficult matchup. You got a guy that's just as long or longer and more athletic and quicker, and a guy having, an all-league caliber season in AD, and you go in there and got 15 rebounds on a night when you really need all of them. The other thing I like about him, he never takes shots unless it's a finishable shot for him. Every time he shoots a basketball, it's in an area where he's comfortable, finishes at a really high rate, but it's really his activity level on the glass and keeping balls alive and securing defensive rebounds. He's very, very smart. Very impressed with him. I thought last night was one of his better games because it was against a good team on the road. And the numbers, they were saying last night on the broadcast, I think Orlando was 1-5 against like certain teams like on the road. Like they hadn't broken through with that type of win this year. You saw their reaction at the end of the game. Yeah, they're happy to win a game, but it was more than that. You could see it. Like, this is a good team. They went into their building, red-hot team with top-tier. And by the way, both of their top players, LeBron and AD, had great games, and you still won the game.
Right.
And they made all the plays down the stretch. So that is the kind of win. It's worth more than one win. I believe that sometimes in this league.
Is there anybody else on that team you wanted to give a mention to that played last night? I mean, Tristan da Silva I thought was good last night, but I don't have a strong take on him. Jonathan Isaac's obviously good, played 18 minutes. Is there anybody else that you think? Should we go over to the Lakers side?
I'm looking at it right now. I mean, Mo Wagner played pretty well last night.
He did.
And other than it's the fact, I think last night he might have broke a record for the number of reviews he wanted in one game.
So true. He had one late too that you're like, come on, man.
Yeah, man. He ran like 30 feet. I mean, he was just all the way from like the baseline out to half court. But they always have great chemistry. He and his brother playing together. He played 19 points last night. Man, that's a nice punch off the bench. He's again another guy plays with max enthusiasm at all times.
Yep.
It's important to your team. But no, I mean nobody that jumps out. You had some guys contribute last night, but nothing. Gary Harris was solid last night. And then Jett Howard gave him decent minutes, I thought, last night as well. Only 11 minutes. But listen, this team is about Wagner, Banchero, Suggs for the most part,
right?
And then what they can get in terms of guys falling into lanes defensively and falling into lanes as supplemental three-point shooting. It's going to be the key to their team to see guys have those three-point numbers trickle up once they get all of their guys back. And look, so Banchero, I think it was reported 4 to 6 weeks reevaluate. We're 3 weeks into that. So he's, 1 to 3 weeks away from being evaluated again. I'm not sure exactly when we're going to see him.
But you know what, Legs? When he went out, part of what we said was Franz was in a little bit of a funk. Last year in a shooting funk and some different things. And then he had some injuries or illness, I think, that kept him out of some games. When Banchero went down, the silver lining to it was maybe this is where Franz Wagner gets his rhythm going. Check that box. That's happened. Now the question for me is, as much as I do like the pairing of those two, Banchero and Franz, I still feel like it's at 70% efficiency, that there's more for them to learn. So I am buying the Orlando Magic as a challenger, not a contender, but as a challenger in the Eastern Conference. But I'll really buy them when I see those two get the most out of them because I still feel like there's more on the table for those two. Let's go over to the Lakers side here. I watched this game live last night. So as I'm watching it, I'm like, all right, we're going to talk about the Lakers. Tomorrow's show, we're going to lead with Lakers and the 7-game win streak they're on. But down the stretch, it's weird because I actually thought they did enough to win the game. And you're like, okay, I have some Lakers takeaways, but it was all negated by those foul shots. You said J.J. Redick's going to have a long night. I don't know. Because sometimes when guys miss free throws, you can't, there's not like watching tape of that.
The only reason I said that is because just knowing JJ as well as I do, to him, the thing it's hard to drive home after the game. You're staying up thinking about it, wake up the next morning. To him, that was one that was in the win column.
100%.
And they're hard to get those in this league.
100%.
And they had momentum. They won 6 straight. So they were playing great. And that's one that looks like, you got that lead mid to late fourth quarter. That's one you chalk up, particularly when you're not worried about, your top guys are making shots. So they're playing great. Austin Reeves didn't have a particularly good night shooting the ball, but you figure he's going to go to the line, 2.5 minutes, whatever it was, 3-point game. You go up 5 right there. That's a big deal. He misses both. And then AD misses the 2 big ones. LeBron splits a pair, and AD split another pair.
Yeah.
Add all that up, man. You go 2 for 8 from the line in winning time.
Yeah.
That's why I said that about JJ. You're right. He's overall, when he watches the film, like later in the morning, like when he first wakes up, he's still ticked off. When he watches the film later, I think he's going to feel pretty good about the way they played overall. It took an incredible night from Wagner just to keep them in the game, and you played very well. And then you just didn't make free throws. He'll feel better about it once he watches the film and he gets back with his team again. But knowing that, hey, man, we had a win, and we just basically gagged it up because we couldn't make free throws. That for a personality type like that, particularly like his first year in this, when everything is so intense with him right now,
right?
That's hard, I think, for JJ after the game and then this morning when he wakes up because they let one slip away.
And in the West, unlike the East, in the West, all of these little games that flip at the last second, that's where the standings, you change a lot. They just had a 6-game win streak. They're feeling great about themselves. They dropped that one, and all of a sudden you drop a few spots. The play that I thought the game ended on, and the Lakers got the win, I don't know if you remember this one. In the fourth quarter, LeBron jumped so high for a rebound, out-jumped a bunch of guys, and he's 40 years old, almost 40. Gets up just like he was 18 years old, and then throws a chest pass outlet that it was almost vertical. It went so high. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, he's going to get a turnover. Dropped perfectly into pocket. I couldn't believe the rebound, immediate chest pass outlet play. That was an all-timer.
I'm glad you brought this up because I made a note to mention this, and if we had moved on, we'd have forgot about it. Might be the pass of the year.
It could. I mean, it's in the conversation.
And I watched it again because I wanted to see exactly where he released it and where AD caught it. My rough estimate, that ball traveled 80 feet. He threw a 2-handed pass from the center of his chest, 80 feet in the air, and it literally cleared the defender by 2 inches.
Unbelievable pass.
Perfect place for AD to catch it, who then just turns and it throws down a dunk. The place goes crazy. And again, it looks like Lakers have the game secured. But go watch that play. I've seen trickier passes. I'm just talking about in terms of sheer strength, accuracy, and nerve to throw it in that situation and to have it absolutely be perfectly delivered. Kudos to LeBron, man. Just when you think you've seen about everything that a guy can do on a basketball court, he makes a play like that.
He's playing out of his mind. Another near triple-double, 31, 10, and 7.
And how about the number I saw last night on the broadcast? 56% from the three-point line in the fourth quarter this year.
That's wild.
Career best from the 3. I mean, his shot just is coming off beautifully, off his fingertips.
2 years in a row.
It's just unreal. His arc is perfect. His timing of his release is perfect. It's just, there's no doubt. You expect it to go in now. And I don't know that I felt that way too much at all about LeBron throughout his career from deep. Yeah, I know he's made a ton of threes in his career, but I don't know that I ever really felt like when he rose up that that's good. I kind of feel that way about LeBron right now, and the numbers back up why I should feel that way. But that's an incredible statistic. 56% from the three in the fourth quarter when you know he's forced into taking those shots because that's what you're going to give up and live with from him. And now it's like you can't live with that shot anymore if you're guarding LeBron James.
The other guy I wanted to talk about, our guy Dalton Knecht, our guy. I shared this one.
And now he grabbed that.
What are you talking? He's from my hometown, Legs.
How is he saying our guy? I've been on Dalton Knecht since he was at Tennessee.
Come on. Oh, I go a little bit further back there.
He's
I
don't know what's happening in here today. My store's getting looted. That's what's happening right now. Just run and grab stuff off the shelves and leave. I got Dalton Knecht. That's my guy. Don't ever say our guy again.
All right. Your guy, Dalton Knecht here. 17 points, 4 rebounds. But what stood out to me, because obviously he's been on a heater, but what stood out to me is that this game was in L.A. Every time he touched the ball, the crowd went nuts in a way that I almost felt was distracting. You know, like he's riding such a high.
That's such a good point.
You know, like
it's outrageous.
It is a little outrageous.
It is absolutely outrageous what's going on with Dalton Knecht right now when he touches the ball.
He's a role player right now.
And I'm not even talking about like once he releases it, that happens. I mean,
good shooter.
Even a guy like Sam Hauser gets that in Boston, right? When the ball's halfway to the rim, and then Weathermaker. Dalton Knecht is catching the ball in areas of the floor where he's not really even open.
And they can do anything.
And they're all the
crowd.
The level of anticipation. And I love it because he's earned it with the way he's played right now. He's an exciting player, man. The dude he can get it off whenever he wants. I just love the combination of the deep shooting with the athletic ability to finish around the rim. Very few guys in the league have both in the same package. And here he is. But another good game last night, 17 points. He's getting attacked a little bit defensively. He's got a long way to go there, and I think he can get there because he's got the physical traits to do it. But right now, he looks a little bit tentative defensively. I want to see him compete more. And one thing J.J. Redick said to me when I asked him about this a couple weeks ago about Dalton, at that time, he hadn't broken through yet. It was actually that night, that game, he had 19 points against Memphis. That got them back in the game, and that kind of triggered this run.
Yep.
But going into the game, I was asking JJ about him, and I said, what are you looking, what does Dalton Knecht need to do more? Because at that point, the minutes were a little bit sporadic. The shots were sporadic. He had not really had a marquee game. He said competitive toughness more consistently every play.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he wants. He's talking about more defensively than anything. And the guy right now looks, and you got to watch. You got to watch because of what you're talking about. I don't know there's a guy in the league right now that's basically right now he's considered a shooter that's getting that kind of reaction when he touches the ball in the entire league. It's been fun to watch, and he got it again last night. And that can be distracting for the player too. Doesn't seem to faze him at all.
What about for the teammates? Because he is a rookie, and look, he's playing great. You all get excited for your rookie, but can it ever be distracting where you're like, all right, the crowd likes this guy a little much?
I don't know that it could be. I think that right now, if you got guys at the stage of their career, LeBron and AD, man, they're just looking like, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Give me more juice at home.
Yeah.
If he's giving us more juice in this building, awesome. Where it's going to get absurd, and then maybe they're already doing this. I know he hasn't shot a ton of free throws. Are they shouting MVP for him?
I don't think they're doing that yet.
It's coming.
It might be if he has one more good
shooting
game.
Everybody gets that pretty
true.
much. You know what I mean? So I wonder if that will be at the point where we go, okay, right,
yeah,
let's pump the brakes a little bit. But it's great. I think it gives them adrenaline. Remember I've said to you before about certain guys, a bucket out of them is worth more than that bucket.
Yep.
And because of the way the home crowd reacts, I always use Bobby Portis as an example of that, connects in that category. What he does for that team, if he puts the ball in the basket, it's worth more than that one shot to that team.
Well, don't you feel like three-point shooting has replaced dunks for the thing that get the crowd going the most? In today's NBA, I just feel like a three-point, especially a guy that catches fire, the crowd responds more to that than for a dunk, which is a little bit wild. We got to take a break because we got a lot to get to on the show. On the other side, we're going to talk a little Hornets, Pistons. We're also going to get to some shout-outs for guys that deserve it, that haven't gotten them. So we'll do all that and more on the other side. They say first impressions are important. What about lasting impressions? That's where Blue Chew comes in.
Do I have a minute?
Blue Chew helps boost your confidence in the bedroom so you can stay hard and perform at your very best. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door, and the best part is it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready when the opportunity arises. And we got a special deal for our listeners. You can try Blue Chew for free when you use our promo code ALLCITY, ALLCITY, at checkout. You just pay the $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ALLCITY, to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information, and we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Also want to tell you guys about Every Plate as you gear up for the holidays with all the expenses that entail. It's even more important to find ways to save time and money. For everyday low prices you can count on, go with the most affordable of any meal kit, and that's Every Plate. Every Plate's a fresh, pre-portioned ingredients are cheaper than groceries, so you have more money for holiday shopping. You know how it is. You go to the grocery store, you're trying to make a new meal, you buy too much groceries, you come home, you're like, oh my God, I spent twice as much as I needed to. Don't worry about that. Every Plate takes care of all the details for you, and they have a bunch of different options every week. 25 weekly recipes for you to choose from, including 30 minutes or less, family favorites, calorie smart, and veggie dishes. You can even get ready for Thanksgiving with easy sides like apple pie crescent rolls and sweet potato casserole, or take a break from the rich holiday foods with a collection of holiday detox recipes. I think we're all going to need a little bit of that. Simplify your weeks with hassle-free meals with Every Plate. You got pre-planned, easy-to-make recipes delivered right to your door. With affordable dinners for just $5.99. That's insane. $5.99 per serving, plus 50% off your first box. Every Plate helps you save money for a stress-free holiday. Get this amazing deal by going to everyplate.com/podcast and enter our code. This is so important. Help us out. Enter the code ALLNBA599. That's ALLNBA599, all one word, no spaces. Everyplate.com/podcast, ALLNBA599. Talking hoops, always talking about the games the night before, getting deep into the details. All right, let's get to the other game we're going to talk about tonight, which is the Hornets Pistons. Very bizarre game because this game was over going into the fourth quarter. But the Pistons came back, or maybe your take is that the Hornets really dropped the ball. I think that's probably the side I fall on. But it still was a Hornets win. They pulled it out in overtime. 38 points for Brandon Miller, 8 of 12 from the three-point line. The guy's rail thin, but man, he has a nice-looking shot and just has the ability to score. That's what stood out to me. But what stood out to you in this game?
Well, I think what stood out to me was, I said this about the Pistons in the preseason when I saw their game against the Bucks. I predicted they'd be the most improved team in the NBA. I feel pretty confident that they might be.
Yeah,
and it's look, because they had young talent, but they didn't compete the way they needed to last year on a nightly basis. They're a little bit more organized. I like JB Bickerstaff a lot. I like Dwayne Casey too, but I thought JB maybe could have a different level of communication with some of the younger guys that he needed. And that's, I think, played out. But I also think Charlotte is very improved.
Yep.
I mean, look, LaMelo Ball he got hurt last year. That was big. They were dealing with Miles Bridges' situation last year. So they also were improved. I thought this is two of the most improved teams. Now, I will say this about the game. Very entertaining. And not, I wouldn't say the greatest shot selection I've seen all year when I watched the game, and I watched all of this game. The decision-making, the shot-making, shot selection wasn't great, but wildly entertaining with a ton of young talent on the floor. And LaMelo Ball right now is, I mean, he's probably top 5 most entertaining players in the league to watch. Just with what he brings, he's got so much flair to what he's doing. And some people don't like his style and a point guard that shoots that much. And is that ultimately going to be, can you win with that? I get all of that. That's a totally different conversation than just flat out entertainment. The stuff that he's going to do with his passing, handling, and shooting, you're going to be thoroughly entertained by the 2.5 hours you watch him play. Was again last night. So this was a game that got really interesting, the way the Pistons came back in this game. And then ultimately, gets to overtime, and now Charlotte's able to hold on to get the win.
What do you think of Brandon Miller as a player? Because oftentimes on teams like the Hornets that are, losing records 6-9 right now, it goes under the radar. But I feel like he's kind of his upside is intriguing to me. I think he could be like a star player, at least star scorer.
Glad you didn't say my guy, Brandon Miller, either, because he was,
he's not my guy. I will say that.
Too high.
Not my guy.
All right, but I love Brandon Miller. I think, the comp for me was Paul George coming out.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar, right? He's very smooth. Very smooth. He's got that that combination again of playing above the rim as a finisher, but also very good shooting stroke and can get into his own shot from deep off the dribble. So upside is tremendous for him. Sometimes you lose track. This is only his second year. So like you're thinking, like, was he been in the league 2 years or 3 years? Yeah, it's his second year in the league. Scoring average, a slight uptick from 17 to 18.5. Still doesn't shoot the ball as efficiently as I'd like him to. I think that'll come. And I think as he's on a better team, whether that's in Charlotte or down the road, who knows where he ends up. I think this guy's a natural-born scorer that's going to be able to get into his and get his own shot. And, he's just super talented, man. 22 years old, and he's already putting up big numbers in this league.
I feel like with the Pistons on that side, just a little injection of shooting has really opened things up. To me, that's the biggest difference. I mean, Cade Cunningham is taking over the game a little bit more. He had a near triple-double last night, 27, 7, and 10. But I just feel like there's more spacing, and Malik Beasley is a big part of that as well. He is a very confident shooter, obviously gets hot. So the shooting, to me, is the big difference when I watch the Pistons.
I had a problem with Beasley last night, man. I was joking around. I was thinking about this morning in my own head. I'm thinking, like, I kind of needed a shower after his shot selection. Like, it was filthy.
Yeah. I said he's a confident shooter.
Man,
that was the pillow talk version of being like, he gets down a little quick.
I mean, it was like, wow, he just has one thing on his mind. But okay, they specifically targeted some veteran players that can shoot specifically to come into this team. Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris. And funny, when Tobias Harris was playing really well last night in the fourth quarter, I was thinking to myself, man, if any Sixers fans are watching this right now and watching Tobias Harris deliver in the fourth quarter, they had to be a frustration with what their team's going through, frustration through the roof. Like, where was that, Tobias, when we had you in the fourth quarter of games? But they brought those guys in specifically because they already had the young talent. That they had athletic ability. They got Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. They got some young bigs. They've got Thompson and they got Ron Holland now, who they drafted. They needed shooting, man, to make it more normal spacing of an offense, and that's a big part of why they've improved. And last night they make 17 threes. Like, that was a very difficult thing for them to get to that last year at all. And they're going to have a lot more nights like that because they've added that caliber of shooting. And it goes around Cunningham and Jaden Ivey in particular in the way that they want to play. So it's just a more normal watch when you look at the Pistons this year offensively.
Do you think they have any chance of making the playoffs? They're 7 and 10. The East is horrible, the middle and bottom of the East. And they are currently ahead of Charlotte, Indiana, Milwaukee, Chicago, and the 76ers, all teams we thought would be competing for the playoffs. Is it crazy to think the Pistons could sneak in? I mean, more to the play-in than anything, but that alone would be a big leap for them.
So I'm looking at this right now, and you always have to take it like in context. They're sitting in the 7th spot, 7 and 10. Yeah. So the question you would ask yourself, you're just talking about play-in. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So let's just keep it to that.
Yeah.
So what you're asking yourself is, these teams that are below them, is there a lot more there for those teams to show us and grab? And you're looking at Indiana clearly would be the top of that list. Milwaukee, obviously there. I don't know that any. Philly.
I mean, Philly is 2-12, but I mean,
they're 2-12, but they've got Embiid, Paul George, and Maxey, and they haven't even played together yet. So, that would be 3 teams. That would basically, if you think that Detroit can hold off, teams like Brooklyn and Charlotte, my answer to your question would be no, because I just think there's so much more there we haven't seen from the teams we just mentioned.
Right.
Indiana, Milwaukee, and Philly in particular.
Yeah.
You would think that's going to kind of push Detroit down a little bit. And then that's when you get thrown into that mix for maybe the 10th spot with a Brooklyn or a Chicago or a Charlotte. And they'll be in that fight.
If you passed Chicago and Charlotte, though, I mean, this is a year everybody's looking at Charlotte. I know Charlotte gets the win, so, maybe it's the wrong moment to be talking about that. But there's a chance. That 10 seed is very up for grabs for one of those teams that wasn't necessarily thinking playoffs coming in. Let's give some shout-outs, though, to the week. It is Friday, and we have been skipping over some guys. And the first one, I know we didn't watch this game or break it down, but I am going to give you a quick scenario in this Minnesota game last night. 5 minutes to go, tie game. And you've got Rudy Gobert with his man pinned under the basket. Julius Randle dribbles down the court and basically kind of nods for him. Get out of the lane. I got it. Get out the lane. Gobert was so pissed that he didn't throw him the ball that he just sulked his way out of the lane and gets a 3-second call in the clutch. This is clutch time. Anthony Edwards comes over and gives him an earful. Like, how are you getting a 3-second call in transition in the clutch of the game? And they collapsed down the stretch. Just last week or earlier this week, we were talking about Julius Randle's signature moment. Are they over a hump? Is this a feel-good moment? That's gone. They had a feel-good moment. Now they had a feel-bad moment in the clutch, and so they dropped that game. I know we didn't watch it, but just when you hear that breakdown, does it mean something to you? They lost to a 4-12 team.
Yeah, it does. It's a bad sign. Look, they're 8-7. They're still trying to figure out the new look to their offense. It's a different dynamic with Julius Randle over Karl Anthony Towns. I thought they had some chemistry issues last year. They still made a run to the conference finals, but I thought they had some chemistry issues, and they made a change, I think, to sort of address that. And now you're talking about a play that's not a winning mentality. It's not a winning play. Whether you want to point the finger at Randall and say, give the guy the ball, he's got him pinned under the basket, or you blame Gobert, or maybe a little bit of both, maybe probably more Gobert because he's a non-scorer. And like the scorers get paid to close games in this league. So maybe you blame more Gobert, but no, that's not a winning play. It's not a winning attitude. They're sitting here slightly above 500. The one stat that kind of jumped out to me when I looked at the box score this morning, and I'm going to talk about this a lot all year every time I see it, is the Anthony Edwards free throw to 3-point ratio, man. 3 free throws, 9 3-point attempts.
Yeah.
That's not good enough for an athlete like that who can get downhill and attack. He's taken a lot of threes, 20 shots. Almost half his threes were 3-point shots last night. I just their offense has to operate a little bit differently. I'd like to see him getting to the line 6 to 10 times. 6 being absolute floor on a given night for Anthony Edwards. 10, or maybe there's nights he gets to the line 14, 15 times if he's really got it going and he's getting calls and getting the benefit of the whistle on certain nights. Right now, that's not really happening. He really likes to take that deep shot. He's falling in love with that shot. And as a result, I think Minnesota, we're kind of just watching muddle their way through. Now, they're not completely buried. This isn't Philly. They're 8-7,
right?
But they've got to get a lot better before we look at them as a team that could potentially come out of the West.
Well, we're doing some shout-outs, and it really goes to the winning team last night. And I'm going to give a mini shout-out real quick just so nobody yells at me. RJ Barrett last night, 31 points. The game before that, 37. So he's on a mini run right now of putting up really big numbers offensively. But the guy we're going to shout out is Jakob Poeltl. 15 points, 12 rebounds. Minnesota's strength in many ways is their interior. He negated that last night. And he's on a heck of a run right now, Legs. Over his last 4, 26 points per game. That's a lot of points because you don't think of him as a scorer. 14 rebounds is monster number. 71% field goal shooting and 2 stocks per game. There are like 3 or 4 centers in the NBA that I'm like, okay, those are great centers. Jokic, Embiid, you got these guys. The tier right below that, though, Jakob Poeltl belongs in that because you're talking about we're not building a team around this guy, but can he do all of the big man things that are required? He does all of them, and he does them at a high rate, including these little touch shots around the rim. I think he is an underrated player, and he's on a heck of a run right now.
In that category with the guys you're talking about, I'd put a Zubac in there.
Yep,
I'd
exactly.
Put Hartenstein.
Yeah,
is obviously in that category. No, I agree with you. Look, you don't see guys that are 29 years old, been in the league as long as Jakob Poeltl has been, and have this sort of resurgence, or not even resurgence, because that's resurgence describes something where you've been there before and now you get it back.
Right.
Like this sort of ascension offensively, this late into your career as a limited offensive type of center. And here's the thing, like he just had 35 points against Boston. And if you look at, he's averaging 24 and 14 his last 4 games. If you go look at all of Jakob Poeltl's shots and you just put them on a video and strung them all together during their 4 games, they're almost all identical.
Yeah.
They're one-hand push shots.
Yeah, little push shots.
He's got this little one-hand push shot, a little baby jump hook, which is sort of also a one-hand push shot, and then maybe he'll get a tip in. That's it. Like his left hand almost never is near the ball when he shoots it. But he's developed such incredible feel and touch. Nothing he does is super quick on the screen dives. Like some guys screen dives are so athletic, they get all kinds of opportunities because they're just faster to the spot. That's not him. He screens and then like all the action goes toward the rim and then he sort of like trails the play into the lane and gets the ball and then shoots that little push shot. He's just shooting at an incredibly high rate. He's very confident with it. This isn't going away because now he's in such a rhythm. He's finding all the open pockets and seams. It's fun to watch a guy that's not gotten much love as an offensive player throughout his entire career play this well for an extended stretch. And his numbers this year, man, 17, 12. I think he's over a block a game. And like you just said, 71% in his last 4 games. We talked about it last week. We'll get to Jakob Poeltl earlier this week. We'll get to Jakob Poeltl another day. Well, today was your day, Jakob.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
And for me, it's like you have the star guys and then you have the rim protector guys, which are obviously an important mold. That's the 2 ways you can do a big. But when you get to guys like DeAndre Ayton, if you ask most people, DeAndre Ayton or Jakob Poeltl, it's like, Ayton, he can do a little bit of this. What did we just lose, James? Are we still live? There you go. You get to guys like DeAndre Ayton, a good guy, and you think, he's got the jumper, he's got this or that. I go, Jakob Poeltl does what you need to do in a role. He never complains. He's setting a ton of screens. He's running dribble handoffs competently, not fumbling the ball. I just think he's the type of guy that you can not build around. That when you have a team, if you don't have a star big man, boom, that's the next best thing because he's going to do everything else. Shout out Jakob Poeltl. Shaedon Sharpe's another guy, man, that deserves a shout out here. We don't talk a ton of Trailblazers, although they've actually been surprisingly good as well this year. Like they have some marquee wins, including over Minnesota. He is, over the last 3 games, 28.7 points per game. And here's the crazy number, Legs. 38.5% on 8.5 threes per game over this last little bit. What do you think of Shaedon Sharpe?
Man, a couple of things about Shaedon Sharpe standing out to me. So he first kind of caught everybody's eye with just electrifying athletic ability, and that's still on display. He does some things, the way he hangs in the air, levitates, moves the ball around in the air to multiple spots before he dunks it. Guy's in the air forever. He's had some tip dunks where he's literally, when you look at the slow-mo, his forehead is rim level, right? But now he's much more on the ball, advancing it. He's at the top of the key, handling the ball in high ball screen and creating more. So he's worked on his handle. He's making difficult shots off the dribble or off the catch, much more so than he did at the beginning of his career. And I think one thing that's standing out to me about him is he's transformed his upper body. He's much stronger than he was. And as a result, he can now play off the dribble and stay on balance. It's allowing him to now have opportunities for himself offensively that he couldn't have before. So good shout out to him because he's putting up big numbers. And unfortunately for him, for Poeltl, we're not going to talk about their teams very much this year. Portland, sort of buried in the West, 6-9, not buried, but below.
We're not expecting.
They're not going to be a play-in team.
Yeah.
And then Toronto at 4-12. So these are two guys that are playing really well, but unfortunately, not a lot of people are going to be tuning in to their games.
Do you just real quickly? Do you have a take on his 3-point shot? Because I feel like that's going to be a big deal for him, and he has a 3-game stretch where he's really hot. He missed the first part of the year, missed all of his shots for like the first 4, but this last little bit he's made them, and I'm just so curious. I don't know. I don't have a take on it, but do you like his stroke, or do you feel like that's something you're like, I don't know?
It can get there. It's he's such a natural scorer that there's going to be nights he's in a rhythm. He's going to make more threes because he had some stuff earlier in the game. Will he ever be
a shooter,
a 40% 3-point shooter? Probably not until he's deeper into like his prime years, which are like 25 to 30. Like when he gets up, maybe because he's such a scorer, he'll be able to do that. Right now, he's 31 on the season, 34 for his career. His attempts are trickling up, and that's going to continue to happen. I'm not going to rule it out. But right now it's going to be more streaky on the nights when he's had some stuff go well for him earlier in the game. Dunks, layups, slashes, maybe, a turnaround jumper or a midi. Now he's going to feel like, hey, I got 8 points already. Now I'm going to be a better 3-point shooter on the night.
The last guy we were going to shout out, and maybe you have a quick take on him, is Cade Cunningham. And it's funny because if you look at his numbers over the last really 3 seasons, it's not that different. Like per 36, his numbers kind of look the same. And yet, when I watch them play, I just feel like he is figuring the game out a little bit more and a little bit more smooth. Do you have a take on Cade this season?
Yeah, I like Cade a lot. And I watch him and it's like they clearly have a defined leader of their team, and it's Cade Cunningham.
Yep, that's it.
That's to me the most important thing. For a young team with a bunch of guys, they got like 4 guys, I think, in the top 5 that were picked in the top 5 in the NBA draft. Like they've got a lot of young guys that are just kind of parts thrown together. Cade Cunningham is the one guy that differentiates that. He's more polished. He's bigger. He's not super explosive, like athletically with his quickness or his verticality. He's just under control, great size. He's a combination playmaker and scorer. He's their established leader, and it's just, I don't know. I'm just glad now the Pistons are watchable. Like I'm going to watch the Pistons. No matter what we said earlier, they were playing team or they're not. They're worth watching. They have
a guy. Yeah, they have a guy worth
because
watching.
Cade, and I think Cade's the main reason you would watch the team. He's very, very smooth, man. And you could see last night, by the way, there was a little bit of that competitive juice came out with LaMelo Ball and Cade Cunningham. Like these are 2 young lead guards that are capable of having big scoring nights, but are also responsible for everything their team does. But you saw a little bit extra, I felt like, between these 2 guys going back and forth at each other, which is fun too.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the weekend slate here and take a look ahead at what's going on. Some good hoops over the weekend, James. What do we got? We have our first one here. What do we got? All right, look at this, Legs. What do you think about this Friday slate here on the screen?
I don't know. That Nuggets game's kind of jumping out to me.
James left it off on purpose. We, of course, have to start with the big game
there
tonight.
We go. Yeah.
Dallas at Denver.
I was hunting that Nuggets logo, and I didn't see it.
The reason Legs is in town is because he is on the call to watch the Mavs and the Nuggets. Now, this one is strange because we don't know at this moment if Jokic is playing.
Right.
We're unsure. He's got a family thing going on. Will he play or not tonight? Changes the complexion of the game. But nonetheless, it's still a big one. It's a cup game, Legs.
It's a cup game. I mean, that's I think a successful formula they've created. It does add a little bit to the broadcast, adds a little bit to the intensity. No Luka, we do know that. That's disappointing.
Really disappointing.
But look, they still have Kyrie. Klay Thompson's on that team, and Kyrie lit them up the last time they played, which wasn't that long ago. They played 10 days ago, or something like that.
Yeah.
So. A lot of star talent still. Hopefully we do get Jokic because that's always going to make the broadcast a little bit better. And watching him and to think that the guy's maybe playing the best basketball of his career when he's already had 3 MVPs is kind of scary.
It should be a good one. And by the way, I know the cup thing, it's almost confusing to follow. But just real quick, the Warriors are in pole position 2-0 in their group. The Mavs are 1-1 but have a plus 38 differential, which is massive. So Denver tonight at 1-1 as well. If they get the win, they will take over Dallas's spot. But if they lose, Dallas will have a chance still to win the group play. So it's a big game for both teams. And also, we talked about this the other day, but if with no Luka, by the way, I still think it'll be a challenge. But if Jokic plays, Denver not only needs to win, they kind of need to run up the score, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, the weird thing about the in-season still is that aspect. It's like when I called the cup game with Memphis and Golden State had a big lead mid-fourth quarter, and like Memphis is still like diving on loose balls, and they're like, the whole bench is up, on a jump ball down 9 with 30 seconds to go.
It's kind of great, man.
It is, man. It's, and I get that's, it's really kind of the only way you're going to do this. If you're going to do pool play, you almost have to incorporate that. It's a lot like an AAU format. That's how AAU tournaments are set up. Pools of 4 teams and point differentials got to come in to try to break tiebreakers and eliminate and get onto the remaining teams. So cup games add a little bit to it. So hopefully we get a very entertaining, great game. And like I said, hopefully we do get Jokic. But if not, I still think we're going to get a really entertaining game.
Well, the other game that really stands out to me right now is Brooklyn at Philadelphia tonight. And why? Because Philadelphia desperately needs a win. And you're at home, so you got the home crowd tonight. I feel like that one is, I don't want to say make or break because all these games feel like that for Philly, but they desperately need one in the win column tonight. They should get this against Brooklyn.
You got Paul George out. Hurt his knee again the other night.
At least 2 games, they said.
Saying Embiid's a game-time decision.
You have to play tonight, man.
I mean, he did hurt his knee the other night, but he came back in the game, finished the game.
If he missed the game tonight?
Yeah. I'm looking at the game cast right now.
You can't miss the game tonight, man.
Game time decision. Brooklyn plays hard.
They do.
And they're 6-9. They're not a great team, but they do play hard. They compete. Philly is not going to get great treatment at home if that thing goes off the rails early and they're down double digits in the first quarter or something. That's going to be it's going to be a stressful atmosphere. And if Embiid doesn't play, man, and they lose that game, Paul George and Embiid out again. The home crowd, people that bought tickets to that game before the season started expecting something different. It is a pressure cooker right now with what's going on with the Sixers. So any night they play right now is going to be something we're all watching.
And then the last one, the games we're going to be talking about on Monday's show, Minnesota at Boston is exciting. The Clippers at Philadelphia. James Harden returns to Philadelphia when they're at their weakest. He could hand them the final blow, which would be a little bit ironic if they can get that one. And Dallas at Minnesota. So those will be the games we're talking about on Monday, Legs, and I think they're all good.
I'm looking forward to it, man. It's a great week, by the way. It's good being with you
stuff,
2 times in person. We don't know when this will happen again.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully I'm back in town at some point, second half of the season, once I get my game schedule. Maybe there'll be some more Nuggets games on the horizon. We could get to do this again.
It was a good time. All right, we got one super chat. Maybe a couple little chats here to get to. Oh, it's so small. Let me see. It says, shut up and take my money. He says, no, Adam, we don't want the cup. We want the chip. Well, you can have both.
Yeah,
it's not mutually exclusive.
Exactly.
You can have both of them if you want. And then the other one here from Nino Vincent who says, Adam and Legs play horse is must-see TV. Next time?
Yeah, that'll
Next
happen.
time in your
Is there a
Denver?
hoop in here?
Oh, man. What would happen if I beat you,
You guys have
though?
a hoop in this?
No, we don't. I
bar?
wish we did.
Yeah,
but
that'd
what
be
would
cool.
happen if I beat you in horse, though?
You might never see me again. I mean, there's no telling how far underground I would go.
I don't think it would happen, but I might have the best.
I will
the
say
altitude
this:
gets to you
I
a
don't
little.
play a lot of horse anymore. In fact,
Yeah.
I don't shoot that much anymore.
Yeah.
Except when
Oh,
I'm
the
getting ready for my
excuses.
basketball camp every summer.
Yeah.
And then I don't have time, but I would get myself prepared because I have some shots
Really, you have some
in
horse
horse.
shots? Really?
That I don't think you've seen other people attempt and make. It'll
All
be
right.
very difficult for you to replicate.
I love that. We got to do it. The next time he's out here, it'll get done. Everybody, it was a great week, man. This was a lot of fun being in person, being in studio, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Doing it 4 times a week. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you leave a comment. All of those things help us grow the show. And if you're on social media, throw the show a quote tweet. Let everybody know that you've been enjoying it. Legs is on the call tonight. Make sure you're tuned up. Make sure you have the volume on because he's going to be giving you some great details throughout the Mavs-Nuggets game on ESPN. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
We all silly like the mayor.